Join us now for the City of Dillon Council meeting, brought to you by Hometown TV, serving Dillon and Marion counties.
We get approval of the minutes, approval for the agenda first. Can I get a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion Jay, second.
I second.
Second Douglas. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, approval of the minutes, regular meeting, June 8th, and public hearing, June 29th, 2020. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion.
Second, Tim, and second, Jay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? My report, it's really, I've just kind of been busy as everyone, just trying to weather the storm of this COVID-19. Last time I mentioned that, we might be through the toughest part. That was wrong. I think everybody that's made a guess about this virus has been wrong. We are seeing huge spikes, and there are a large number of free testing, and I'm not sure why we're doing so much free testing, because it kind of clutters the pipeline for us to be able to test people who have symptoms. So I'm not sure what the theory is on that. I think it may be to grow that denominator. I'm not sure that we ought to be growing the denominator with a positive COVID test. We ought to be growing that with people that are symptomatic. And I think that, eventually they'll come to a ratio of people exposed and morbidity and mortality, and then people who have symptoms and morbidity and mortality. But that's down the road. Got some good drugs that are coming out, some remdesivir and Decadron. This creates a tremendous inflammatory response in the body, and it's not so much the virus there that causes the disease, it's the body's response to the virus. An RNA virus actually gets into your own cells and alters the outside of the cell so that the body acknowledges it as foreign. And then the body sets up an inflammatory response to that foreign cell, and that's what causes all the pneumonia and all the issues. You've got a lot of different presentations. We're having kids with a thing called Cox-Sack disease that get a vasculitis. Well, that's just, again, it's just another way that we have an inflammatory response that attacks the arteries. So we've had some recent deaths, Ms. Jordan is very sick. The patient that is in our church, Norman Norton, recently died, and he had been fighting it for about 3 months. So it's impacting our community. I think the last time I saw it was 15 deaths. That I didn't look the last couple of days. So that's definitely affecting our well-being, and I'm not sure what the right approach is to our own economics. I think we just need to be smart, be vigilant. When you're in public, and you got to be around people that are close. Wear your mask. I'm not sure. I think they've gone back and forth on that. They say don't wear your mask; it doesn't help. And then they say wear your mask. I think that if you can reduce the amount of emissions from your mouth, then you're going to probably, if you are a silent carrier, then you may avoid passing it on to someone who potentially could become very sick. As far as the other things in the city, I think they're going well. I just want to say something about Bert and Todd. The golf course absolutely looks the best I have ever seen it. And I've been here 37 years. Todd was out there in that heat on Saturday laying sod. I said, Todd, I said, you're 50 years old, son. You don't, and I've known him since he was a boy, but I said, you don't kill yourself out here this heat, and it was hot. But anyway, it looks good, and we appreciate all your efforts.
Yes, sir.
Still have a lot of issues, and we're going to go over some of these with the storm drainage. I just think that with the mapping and the things that we're getting done there, we might be able to make some significant impact on some of this flooding that we're having with less than a $20 million investment, which would be to revamp the whole system. So we look forward to all the studies coming back on that. Just a personal update, we're coming close to finishing the old Price building. If you haven't been by there, that's Wendell and myself and Todd. We bought that building, and we put a lot more money in it than well, maybe they wanted to, more than I wanted to put in it. But it's a gorgeous building, and we're getting some nibbles about from people. But it's the same thing that I told you maybe 2 or 3 years ago. You can't have a building, where you've got $250,000 invested in it, and get rent for that, and right next door to it, you have $30,000 invested in compare those rent. It's just somebody has to take the first step, and there's some people looking at those buildings, and maybe they'll come along and put something real nice there that'll be a focus for growth in the downtown. And that's about me. City manager.
Well, I have a laundry list of items that I was going to talk about tonight, and I'll start since you brought up the building that you and 2 others own on Main Street. Tell you about the facade grants this past year that we just completed. Downtown property owners spent $74,188 on 10 different properties that took advantage of our facade grant. The city paid out $21,573 as a match out of a possible $24,000 that the city budgeted. The grants range from $217 what we paid up to $3,000, which was the match. So there was almost a little over $74,000 investment by 10 property owners. Now
that's just in the facade.
Just in the facade. Now that number is inflated because Dr. Hooker at his building on Main Street spent $36,000, if I remember correctly, which included the roof and things of that nature. But he also did some stuff on the awning and everything else. So.
Fiscal year or the calendar year?
Fiscal year.
Well,
yeah, I don't know what y'all doing. But that's what he submitted on his facade grant when he did his reimbursement. He showed us all of his expenses. So, like I said, we matched $21,000. We gave or provided $21,573 out of a possible $24,000. That meant there was.
But your return on investment is 3 times that, or almost 4 times that. As far as downtown.
And this was our 3rd year completing that, if I'm not mistaken. This is the most money that we have spent in 1 year. We still haven't had one this year who applied, and was gonna be awarded up to $3,000 if they did what they were supposed to do, but they never did. They never turned in their paperwork, which said they didn't have time, so I'm not quite sure. But I thought that was pretty good, and we have started advertising last week through the newspaper, our Facebook page and website for this year's 2020-2021 facade grant, so hopefully we'll have
Glenn,
some
what
more
can we
people.
do to try to lure some storefront businesses to come? We got 30 empty buildings. We gotta do something to make it attractive for them.
Well, you know, we did November, December, we put some incentives in there, to help folks.
Are you getting any bites on that?
We've had one, and that was Tammy Berry, who, she had nothing yet, has she been?
No, sir.
Okay. I know she completed hers about 2 weeks ago. Wasn't a lot of money that we gave back to her, but she appreciated what we did for her. And those incentives were, we would waive water and sewer tax if it was if it needed one. Hers didn't need one, so there was nothing there. She got a reduction of 50% on a business license.
Yes, sir.
And the first year is going to be an estimated, because she didn't really know what her gross income would be. If she'd have been in business prior, that would have gave her probably some more.
But the business owner don't know what we offer.
We're
Until they come and,
that, and we put it all over Facebook. I mean, I don't know what else we can do. And then she, I think, did we waive permits?
50%.
50% on the permits. for any
Where's
construction.
restaurant type or?
Bar and grill,
Yeah.
and then she'll get a rebate, once she opens and starts selling on her hot meals tax. Instead of paying 2%? 2%, she'll pay 1%.
okay.
So she'll get that, you know, during the year, once she opens and starts. And I thought she was gonna be here tonight. Stephanie Mitchell, I talked to her a week or so ago. The building there that she bought beside Council on Aging, she's scheduled to be torn down this week. She finally got a contractor, excuse me, and DHEC finally has signed off on the permit to tear that one down. So hopefully by the end of this week, it shouldn't take long to tear that one down.
Why are you talking about that one? The one behind the American Finance.
Where's American Finance?
King's Pizza, it's right there in front of King's Pizza, and then it's the building.
Across the street.
Have you looked at that building?
Yeah, you
It's
can
got a hole in the
see,
side.
you can see
foundation's
the
about-
front of where the foundation is right. It's been condemned, that one's in an estate, am I
Yes,
correct?
sir.
You know, we could go in and have it torn down.
I think we need to take action because if we don't, and it does fall during a hurricane or something, and it does some, damage to other people or other people's property.
And we can, but y'all need to vote on that, because we'll go back to the one we did on Hampton Street a year or so ago, beside Family Dollar. Yeah, that was a $40,000 cost that the city paid, which the property owner had to pay us, but we put it on as a lien on that property. That property will never sell, because the property ain't worth $40,000. But I mean, if we want to make that investment, we're good.
Some input from the code enforcement.
We need it torn down.
And let Benny give us some input, what he thinks about it, because, I mean, if any of the other council members have looked at the building,
It's about to
it's in
fall.
terrible shape,
Yeah.
it's about to fall.
Yeah, it's
Is that the
about
one
to
that has the,
balcony on top with a little white, yeah. Somebody got a wreck here about a month or so ago, went through that parking lot and went through the side of the building. But no, it's not on the agenda, but I can put it on the agenda for next month.
Well, it gives
For y'all
all
to
the other
vote on.
council members to go look at the building and see what they think about
But
it.
I think we need to tear it down.
But the things we talked about before in eminent domain, I mean, why don't we just go ahead and do the paperwork on that and take it so we can get grant money to remove it?
Well, you can do
You
eminent
take
domain,
possession.
and Jack is our legal advice there, but you still got to pay whatever the market value is first. You just
Minus.
can't go in there and take the property.
It would be minus the lien though, what you have on paper. So if you got 40,000 on other property, you could have already taken possession of the property. Property wouldn't be worth that. You could already own it. And I'd rather the city to own it.
But we can never, well, if we got a grant through CDBG, we can never sell it unless we pay back what they gave us the grant for.
That's right.
That makes, you understand that?
But I don't know how this takes off with the council, but like Jay was just saying, and we take ownership of the property, and then we build something nice there to where it's attractive for somebody wants to come and put a business there.
Well, yeah.
All down that block, nobody's even in the, no business, I don't think even occupies.
Well, the one next door, I think Alan Watts purchased that. He done some renovations, and upstairs, he's looking to put, what, 2 or 3 apartments?
Apartments.
And then put some kind of retail on the bottom floor. Now, I don't know how far he's gone with it, but I do know he bought that one beside it, or 2 of them right beside it. But I'll be more than happy to bring it back, or you can vote on it tonight by, even though it's not on the agenda.
Let's just put it on the agenda and let's look at it.
Yeah.
And go by, if you're not sure, that address would be
I was trying to Google map it.
200,
Yes, sir. 200, 202. It's
200 East Main Street. And it
What we
will be-
did at James Lockamy property before beside the theater, I mean, we could just take that thought between all these other properties and just turn it into a
You
beautiful
can take
space.
it in green space.
Just have a green space for the city.
You can turn it into a green space.
Yeah.
That would be probably the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Because if it's like all the other buildings, and I'm not sure.
What's
those-
behind it?
An alley,
No, I
an
mean,
empty space.
It's a house.
Well, on Hampton Street, the best thing to do there would just
It's a
be
house
sod.
on- It's a empty space.
Like we
on a
did
lot,
over
and a
the
house on
property
next-
beside King.
You know, so
Across
lot-
the
Just sod it, have beautiful grass
alleyway, and then
in
there's a
that
house.
area.
You know, there's another building right there too.
okay. There's a building right behind this building.
Well, the liquor store and all that stuff is hooked to, you know, it's kind of like behind it. But it's a house directly behind it too, on the next block.
So
That's on Hampton Street.
Yeah. But I'm saying, you said the alleyway and then it's that house on Hampton Street.
Yeah.
So that's really nothing behind it, but the house on the next street.
The house on Hampton Street is north or south side of Hampton?
It would be on the north side.
North side, okay.
Be on the north side. And it's,
So it wouldn't access, it really wouldn't access to anything if we made it like a throughway for a lot
no,
or something
no,
like that?
not really. But I mean, you could kind of dress it up. You know, maybe kind of do the, like the fencing we did there on that property behind King's that we sold to him. You know, kind of put some
Grass. No wood.
grass and a
And water
fence,
around.
black fence, raw out with the fence around it, kind of do that. But I'll bring that one back and, because it needs to be gone. In fact, one of the other items I was hitting on would be that the master study folks, Benchmark, will be here in August at our meeting to present some ideas. And I talked to him a month ago or 3 weeks ago. He asked me about that building, where was it sitting now? Because somewhere in his discussions with either staff or council or the public, supposedly he talked like that was a building, he wanted to know the historical value of it, even though it's in the historic district. But he said somewhere he understood that was a hotel or a boarding house.
It was one of the first hotels in there.
Okay, that's what he said, for the minorities, am I correct? So, you know, that may be something if we tore down that we could maybe recognize that spot as what was there. So, but they'll be here in next month to present what they've done so far.
On that, with the same thing going on down there, got that gas factory.
The round property?
We got to do anything about it.
Again, the only way I see that we do anything there is be an eminent domain type deal. And again, that would be something.
But if you don't do something, they can never do that.
Oh, he's never gonna do anything. He still thinks today that that's a viable piece of property for him. He's gonna be able to provide electricity to the city and its residents.
And the one, up there for, was on Ham Street got torn down. Yeah. Get we approval?
The one we were talking about earlier that we did last year, so I think we don't.
Yeah.
So that's just an empty property.
Right.
But you know, I think it's a disgrace that we got that grant money, and like Bobby said, we put in the sidewalks and the lights and everything. The city takes all the action. I don't know what, you know, lawfully we can do, but the basket factory has been an eyesore for years. And, you know, I've attended these municipal association, and these other towns turn them into green spaces and stuff, so I know there's something we can do.
Yeah, but we don't know how they're doing it, I guess.
But we would reach out and ask them what they're doing, because, I mean, it's been there, how long has it been occupied, 20 years or more?
Unoccupied?
Unoccupied.
Yeah.
Longer than that.
I mean, it's just time to do something.
Now, is that annexed in?
Yeah.
His building?
The whole property.
Okay.
That whole property is in.
Then he got all that money, we done it, and it looked pretty good one time, he never do nothing.
But see, we got a grant through, I forgot who it was, FEMA or somebody,
Yeah.
10, 15 years ago to do a study there and had some.
We did some
of the,
cleanup, too.
Yeah, there was some cleanup done.
Probably on that generator.
And then he put-
Asbestos,
Then he
big
put-
blocks of white, yeah.
It was that and oil and things of that nature.
They pull some
And he pulled that, they called that money too, didn't he?
chemicals.
Then he put a big
up.
some around.
Uh-huh.
That'd be a great place to have a park.
No, he didn't have anything tied into
That'd be a
that.
nice park for that
So we
community down
paid,
there. Very good park.
There was a small match that we paid, I don't remember what the amount was. It was cleanup money through the federal government, is what that was. Brownsville, that's what it was.
One of the ladies that went out there and inspected it and so forth, her shoes started melting.
I could possible, they've done a lot of green space type stuff. Maybe we can reach out and maybe they try to give us some avenues to take.
We will, and see how it's done.
It does all the bad soil and everything out of that place.
Yeah, around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, I'm skipping around on my notes here. Are you good? Just don't want to repeat myself.
Do that all day long.
Speaking of grants, and I think I told you this last month and the month prior, and we got the grant from FEMA to do a stormwater study, which was somewhere in the ballpark of $200,000 to $225,000. Our match would be 20%. The South Carolina Emergency Management has a grant available to kind of offset our match. So we're going to apply for that. We would then pay the match what we would have in the study. So it's possible that we would have no money tied up in this stormwater management study. Once they begin, we should be here in the next 60 to 90 days to begin that study process. One of the things that they will do is the consultants will hold public meetings to get input from the public, to find out what's happening in their neighborhoods as far as stormwater. And then they will come back eventually with a plan that I hope does not sit on a desk somewhere. We need to take some steps to do something that they present to us. And I think I told you last time we met.
You know, to me, I mean, I'm looking at almost $250,000, and they're gonna come in and interview people. We know where those
Well, not
places
just
are.
interview people, they're also gonna do things with what's in the ground and how to maybe move the water in other directions or the things of that.
Ask Bert where it floods. You don't ask people, they know. Well, he knows.
That's just the process. That's the process.
You know, that particular night that we had our last meeting, I went down and they had the cops at each end between Harrison and Cleveland because it was so bad. the cars kept flying through there and they were gonna get swamped out, but it was, that's one of the worst times I believe I've ever seen. It came in my office again.
Yeah,
I don't know if it, did it go in y'all's building?
That was the
3 inches
last
quick.
meeting we had.
That night?
Till we had another,
That's-
3 inches, you know, I mean, we were flooded out of the club.
Now, if it's slow, it pretty well goes away, but man, when it's a problem like that,
Well,
but it ought to be able to hold 4 or 5 inches in a
You
short
would
period of
think,
time.
you know,
We
we know
that
there's-
flooding anytime you get that.
But it just stops.
we know there's issues.
It's not any problem where else.
We know there's issues in our stormwater.
Yeah.
In fact, I've reached out to DOT about the north first and south first where it ties into Hampton, going from a large size to a small size back to a large size, to get some help and guidance from them, because it's actually theirs, it's not the city's, and it's in the road, so we don't want to dig up the road. I'm waiting to hear back a response from them, but I also gave them another one that we think we've got fixed, but there's an issue on Cottonwood, which is off of in between Dogwood and K Street, that where the line that runs between the houses, what is that? Between Virginia Lane and Laurel Lane. That line runs between these houses that has all the fences on that pipe. We think we've got that fixed between the houses from Cottonwood to Chestnut. But we also think there's a problem from Cottonwood to K Street, not Cottonwood, Dogwood to K Street, because every time we put our camera in or put our machine in, we're hitting something. And it's, how deep is that pipe, you think? And it's in the middle of that road.
So K's right before it goes into the swamp.
Yes. Yes.
It kind of
Right there in
goes
the back.
uphill, so that's the.
The camera don't show you anything that you're getting?
You can't see the sand, there's too much sand in it.
Because the joints are probably separated, the sand's coming in through the joints.
Probably no more than 10 years ago, and probably less than 10 years ago, and a little bit more than 5 years ago, there was a sinkhole there, closer to K Street in the middle of the road, where that pipe had collapsed.
Who's that, who lives on K Street? Is that the?
That's that dead end street, isn't it, down
Anderson's
there,
and-
Don Perry's house, I think.
No, that's Cottonwood.
That's Cottonwood.
That's Cottonwood. K Street would be, if you're coming from EC's house,
Right,
and then turn left
on Cottonwood.
on Cottonwood, then you come to K Street.
Oh, okay.
If you turn left there, then that would take you to your mother-in-law's house at the end of the road down there.
So you're on the opposite side where the station is.
What's the station?
Down K goes down in
Yes.
the corner.
And then goes
So
out by
where's the
Dr. Perry.
blockage? It's on K Street?
It's on Cottonwood, in between Dogwood and K Street somewhere.
Okay,
And see, what we want them to do is to dig it up.
yeah.
And also, we want them to come back, once they dig it up, put a manhole there,
Yeah.
because we can't, from the, I have to get my directions straight, from the west side of Dogwood is an inlet. We can get in there, put our machinery in there, go down that line, but to get to the other end is well over 600 feet. We can't get that far. So if we can get them to fix what we think is the problem in the center, and then they can put in a manhole there as well, we can then, go from there. But I've emailed them on those two issues.
A couple of different contractors went broke running that storm drainage down Johnson Drive in that area. It's so sandy that it just caves in.
Yes,
It's just.
Where are we at on storm drainage? Are we fully staffed now?
yeah, we got the two that we said we were gonna hire back in January.
How is that scheduled? Are they working one side of town and then they come back to the other side of town?
Well, basically, yeah, we kind of, it goes down on the route, kind of, checks areas. We get heavy rains, go back to that area and work, and cleaning, that kind of, like, they're also doing, we have to lay pipe, do things like that, help with things like that, so they're not running the truck every day, they're having to do the maintenance also. Like, custom repairs and things like that. So, you go out and work on that area, you may spend a week in one spot because there's so many roots and all in the pipe. So Glenn and I, we've talked and we're trying to research what kind of root cutter we can buy to put on our machine to try to cut these roots out.
Yeah, we've got one, where is that? 8th and Washington.
Right.
There's some issues there, and the root ball, just based on the camera, is that thick in there, and the jet cutter we got just won't cut the root. There's no way of getting it out other than digging that up, and again, it's in the pavement, and to me, we've got to have the state to help us on those, because it's their road.
Have we shared it with them?
Yes. Yes.
Well, the state, they're working with us, but they don't have really any equipment to work on the drain. I mean, when they have a problem, they call us, we go help them. But what they're doing in return, if we have a problem, we got to dig up pipe, they'll give us the pipe material if it's in the road right away. So that is a big cost savings, that they're helping us with.
And the email that I've sent on these issues are being sent to the local DOT, who then forwards it to Florence, and that's where the decisions come from. We're also scheduling, we know we have an issue at East Cleveland and North 10th Area Avenue. What is that, about 100 feet of pipe we got to replace, you think?
Plus that.
Which is actually in the right of way, but it's in the grassy area between the sidewalk and the road, and we don't have to replace asphalt there or road there, so that's something that we're gonna be able to do ourselves.
Roofs are our main problem, because when they laid pipe a long time ago, see now we laid in 13 or 20 foot sections. They laid in 4 foot sections. So you got a lot of little joints. So if it ever separates a little bit, roofs right in.
And then another one that we're dealing with is an open ditch that's located between South 5th and Martin Luther King Boulevard. In fact, Mr. Willie Bethea owns some property beside that. He's gonna pay for the pipe to pipe that ditch to help keep the flooding down in that area.
Does it flood real bad? We have a real rain?
Yeah, when that rain we had here, that last meeting we had here, all that was underwater. All that was underwater. Here's the problem though, it feeds.
Safety issue though, that was the big thing.
Yeah, but it feeds, that ditch, that open ditch goes under Martin Luther King, ties into First Avenue, right into where you are, which if you backed up there, it's gonna back up behind
That's
us.
the problem, you got so many areas coming to one pipe, and when it's a small pipe, you just can't go.
The pipe in his area is big, but it goes to a small pipe over there on First.
On First Avenue, there's 30 inch. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Main line.
But it goes to a 24.
It goes into a 24 for, I don't know why they did that, but that's not the way you do it.
And then the last item I have, I got an email from courtroom today from Angie that court administration has said, please be advised that Chief Justice, is it Beatty? Intends to issue a statewide order requiring everyone entering and/or conducting business at a magistrate or municipal courthouse statewide wear a face mask covering or mask prior to entry. It is important to know that if someone arrives to conduct business and does not have a mask, one must be provided for them. So, I know we have court on Wednesday. I have a few masks that I'm gonna give them. But that's changing daily.
Yeah. Moving target.
That's changing daily. And they're not actually going into the courtroom. They're doing everything from the door with a petition. But however, there are one or two each Wednesday that they have, that they will bring in the courtroom if they're going to want to work out some sort of deal or do something different than what's actually on the traffic ticket. But I wanted to make you aware of that.
I know Jay mentioned something about the juries, the trials or something of that nature. We've held off on the jury trials till,
Yeah.
I mean, I know the
Yeah.
coronavirus is ticking up.
Yeah. Don't know when that's gonna happen. I don't know if any court's doing any kind of trials per se. And I will tell you this, speaking of court, we just got this finalized, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks ago. The alley behind that we closed, that y'all voted to close off of Harrison Street in between Harrison and Cleveland Street, it was scheduled to go to court back in March. And then the court said when COVID-19 came along and all that died, we're able to hold court. Jack finally got it done, in June is when the judge said he would then take that stuff, but didn't actually hold court. All he wanted was some paperwork. So that has been taken care of. Jack has filed the deeds.
Recorded the last 2 days today.
For the adjacent property owners, Black's Tires, it was recorded today. What was the other one? Where that old big house was?
That's a group Turner.
Turner.
Yeah. That one was recorded today, and then the one between the Strickland property and what we had as a parking lot was recorded last week, I believe. Week before last, for the Strickland. So that is now.
So they bought that property?
First Bank?
No, the front lot.
First Bank?
They bought it all.
No, not the whole block.
They just bought, right now, I don't think they bought it.
Right,
So where
just
the
that
greenhouse
one.
was, they didn't buy that.
They didn't buy that.
So that's still available for sale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got a sign on it.
That is correct.
So what did we allow First Bank to do? I know they're getting ready to start building, but they said they would have the bank built early 21, didn't they?
I don't see that happening.
So,
Yeah, there was, in the agreement, 18 to 24 months, they would be in 18, at least up to 18 months in the building they're in right now. And then after 18 months, if they were still there, we start charging them rent. But don't know when they're gonna start construction.
so what about the property that we're thinking about buying?
Behind it, kind of put that on hold because they did not agree to either
Still
of
want
the
too
two
much
offers.
money.
And you'd have to approach them again and buy.
Not at this point in time.
Not that, you need something else on the agenda, but I hear that Mackey made gave you an estimate on land behind this.
Yeah, he's supposed to be giving me something, and then I'll bring it back to council.
I was under the understanding he gave it to.
Yeah, that's what he told me
He hasn't
to.
given me anything yet. He's gonna give me a drawing. He's giving me a price, but he's gonna give me a
Drawing.
A drawing of what's part of it.
Said it was about 40 acres, so, and I don't know,
Well, just since you brought it up, the property beside us here, that green space here has been sold to Trinity Behavior, I guess it's what it's sold to. And Trinity Behavior, if you don't know, is an alcohol drug. Is it not a treatment center? Well, I guess it is. They do testing and they do classes there, I guess. But they have bought the empty property beside us. And then the property that's behind it has been taken out of that. And I've been approached if the city would be interested in buying this property behind us. So don't give me a price and give me a drawing and I come back to council with it. If it's something we could do and want to do, there is grants through PRT to purchase land like that. Just like when we purchased this, it was a 50-50 match. And that's there as well. But that is a process that wouldn't begin until January on that grant.
On the other side of the road, would it perk for housing development?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. But one is, this is, well, it wouldn't be, you don't need to perk because you got to sell out. Yeah. So we need to perk, but, and Jack would love to sell his across the street.
Just wonder why we don't have that taken off, you know?
Yeah.
It's a nice area.
But I mean, think about it, I've been here, probably seems like all my life now, but there has not been any housing development, new housing development in town. When you think about it, other than maybe
Since Ninth Avenue.
Hunter's Ridge. Hunter's Ridge, yeah.
And what Mackey put over there behind Andy Bryant's.
Yeah, that little-
About 8 townhouses.
Townhouses, that's really that about it. Or, somebody building a house here or there, but
That's
as far
sad.
as far as development, you just don't have it.
Well, part of it, may be a little bit our fault. If you have new development in the city, you gotta put, storm drainage, electricity, water, sewage, and it runs, it runs about 200 a linear foot. So you got $20,000 in a 100-foot lot just in infrastructure, and it kind of, and I don't know how to get around
But I
that.
think that's everywhere, though.
I understand that.
And then a
But-
lot of
but-
places
but-
charge
but,
impact fees, we don't
Yeah,
charge an impact.
But I know, but we're dealing, and we can't absorb that, but that's a lot of money. A $20,000 lot is a lot of money in Dillon, and it isn't gonna be until our economy changes that it's gonna be financially feasible to do development. And then you got, right now, construction costs, if you're gonna build a decent house, it's $140 a foot. It's just a lot of money.
That's all I have.
All right, finance? Okay.
General fund, our total cash account at June 3rd was $2,341,645. Our total revenues for the year was $5,974,038. Our expenses were $6,100,873. I am still getting in bills for June and getting some revenue, so this will not be an accurate report. It's just something for y'all to have until I finish the audit.
We lost money, it's like 125,000 right now. But wasn't our budget designed last year to lose 200?
But now, mind you, James got numbers here, and I look at other numbers, and she's gonna say that you gotta take this out and that out, but if you look at total revenue, and I know there's some grant proceeds in there, but those grant proceeds also are on the expense side, I believe, as well.
Meaning where we used the grants.
Yeah. We collected $6.3 million in the general fund.
As opposed to 5.9.
But she's probably, is that where you subtract?
I subtracted $383,558.
That's loan proceeds.
Loan proceeds was $252,005, which that was in and out, so that was really not revenue.
And then grants.
And the FEMA grants.
But, I was shocked just looking at it over the weekend in our revenues from the general fund. Property taxes, we collected almost 6% more than what we budgeted. The local option sales tax, which is a part of the property tax that gives people a discount on their property tax, we collected almost 11% more than what we anticipated. Vehicle tax was down about 4% than what we budgeted.
Let's see when we got money
We
in.
still got-
I got money in for June.
Okay,
But I
that's
was
showing it.
which
Okay.
we're gonna be about 5,000 or 6,000 more all collected.
But the one that really shocked me was business license. We came in about 5% lower than what we anticipated. I was afraid it was going to be less than that, I mean, more than that. But then we made up for it from what the municipal association collects for us on business license payments, because that was a collection of 8%. more than what we budgeted, so that kind of equals out there. Good. Franchise fees came in at 1% less than what we anticipated. So we saw some court fines was about 48% less than what we anticipated. We had budgeted 150 and we only collected what, $79,000, $80,000.
What do you expect the logistics center and the new QT to bring in?
Well, the property tax there would be one out. QT has annexed, am I correct, Ben?
Yes, sir.
Logistics center, we haven't gotten anything on them yet. But what that will bring in revenue, QT will help us with some property tax increase, but another big help, there will be hot meals tax there that we'll get the collection on.
Do we foresee being able to get some of the Harbor Freight down the road?
Well, Harbor Freight doesn't own the property. They own the building, they don't own the property. So we're trying to reach out, and I think that group's up in Ohio, Pennsylvania, somewhere in that area. Trying to see if we can get them to annex as well. And hopefully they will. And we're pushing
Crazy
forward.
idea to put a 4 million square foot building on leased land.
And that's what, and it may be, and I don't know this to be fact, but it may be
Probably a part of their group.
they're just not named with them.
That's right.
Kind of like Marlboro Electric and Marlboro Development.
Yeah.
Even though they're two separate entities, I think they're still the same.
Same number.
Yeah.
So with the city of Dillon, the city limits, is that the proper line? Is when we I see our police officers out there.
We go out to the interstate.
We go all the way to the
To the interstate. But now, the road is in the city, and then 10 feet frontage of all those properties. Or no, can't say all those. Some of them didn't agree, but we had it where it went from one side to another side. So some of the properties have 10-foot frontage that's in the city. And some of them
On
don't.
the west side of I-95.
East side.
Just on the
East side. We hadn't got across, get anybody to agree yet on the west side. And what I'm hoping there, don't know what's gonna happen, where the old, used to be a gas station, then it was a repair shop, garage looking place beside Love's. That's been sold, I believe.
Eugene's Auto Repair.
Yeah, and they're gonna, got to come to us wanting sewer. So once they come and want sewer, we can then annex that. Right. And that's what we'll do with logistics centers. Once they come to do for sewer, we've got to annex, because that land, the 10-foot portion in front of it was in the property, annexed in, so they're contiguous. So we'll get that. Unless they don't want our sewer, but they got to.
And I'm not sure huge property taxes for the city.
I would think so.
I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, I would think so. Absolutely. So, we do look for some growth to happen there. Clay keeps telling me there's potential for a hotel in that area. I was out yesterday, don't mean to get off the subject here, but I knew about the hotel there on Lida on the Marlboro County side. And I just finally saw the Holiday Express yesterday. If you didn't know it, you wouldn't see it. I mean, just so I happened to look that way and I saw it. If they could have something like that in that area, I can't understand, again, why not here. And probably what I'm going to say, I shouldn't say, they probably didn't pay as much as they're going to pay over here, as far as property, but I don't know that. So, I'm sorry, go ahead with your finance.
Okay. Stormwater, our cash account's $161,542. We collected for the year $140,361 is what we actually billed out. But we spent for 6 months $114,467.
So our monthly budget's 140, and in 6 months we spent 114.
Now, remember of that 114,
Yeah.
62,000 is
Just the payment.
for payment on the back of the truck. Okay.
And that's once a year.
Yeah, that's once a year, that's correct.
Our water and sewer fund, our non-restricted accounts, $1,671,130. Our total restricted accounts is $1,970,409, giving a total of all cash accounts of $3,641,539. Our revenues, $4,061,776. Our expenses, $3,673,435. But like I said, we still got, I don't think I'll have any revenues coming in, but I will have expenses on the water side for June that's coming in July that I'm gonna have to record.
Any idea how much? I mean, I looked at that, it was like 388,000 difference, so, that's, we need to maintain, 10% there. So that's pretty good.
And then our golf course, our total cash account is $48,098 with the revenues, and that includes the transfers and the donations from the county was $422,593. Our expenses was $387,218. But like I said, I know I've got some big bills coming in on that, for record that. Our 2% hospitality, our total revenue is $591,603, and we transferred out of that $180,000 to the golf course, and of course our wellness payments $239,474, and we pay that in January of each year, so it'll be paid off in 2025. We've got 5 on that, so that's my report.
And just on the revenue there, we came in less than 1% what we budgeted. If you figure what's been going on, March and April, May, it kind of, it's still not bad, I don't think, there, from what was collected for that.
That's it.
All right, citizens report. Anybody from them? Anything? Old business, none. New business, I need to recuse myself from this because my business put in a bid. I'll back out of discussion and vote on this, so please run it while we're doing that.
All right. Can I ask you a question before we get started? Sure. Do we have a policy in place that the bids should be sealed before council, open before council?
No.
So I make a recommendation that we, going forward, to do this.
Do what?
Have sealed bids, and the bids are opened in front of council, just like tonight, we open the bids on the people who bidded for the service.
All right, now, on what? On all bids?
Well, another thing too is I'd like to take it a little further. As far as like our cars and stuff like that, we need to start bidding this stuff out.
They are.
Okay? Well,
They are. The only thing that's not bidded out based on our policy, we do have a procedure policy for procurement.
Okay.
If any professional services are not required to be bid, that'd be engineering, any professional services. If it's vehicles or anything 30,000 or more in cost, you've got to do a bid process. Now, vehicles, if they can be purchased on state contract, that eliminates getting more than one bid if it can be purchased through state contract. So if Keith's truck, we got it through the state contract, so he didn't have to get a bid. Some parties looking at, if they don't have it on state contract, he's got to get through bids, because we know it's going to be more than $30,000. And then we just take the low bid. the bid process that we do as far as water and sewer projects, we have to follow the guidelines where we get the money from, which is sealed bids, and then they're open at the day and time specified. And then I bring those recommendations back from whoever the engineer that did that process back to council, and y'all vote on those bids. So,
With that being said, though, does all the businesses do they get to share the love, as far as our cars? Like, you take some cars to Morel Tires and you get tires put on. Okay, Alan Watts just now, he just bought the new Dillon Tire Service. So will he get some of our business? Will Black Tire get some of our business?
What we do on tires falls under state, whoever's got the state contract is what we do there. Is what we do there. Now, just because the state contract doesn't always mean it's the lowest, I will tell you that, but our procurement policy, and that's something y'all can change, says, state contract, we can do that without going through a bid process. And I'll bring you back next month our procurement policy that we have. So I'll get it to you, I'll get it to y'all before then, so you can look over it. So,
Well, most of those decisions are made at the finance level anyway, between that and the city manager.
well, once
And I've been in
again,
that position before. And the finance director, which would be Jan, it would be her authority to open up these bids, and then you would bring them before us, like you've done right here.
our bid process, like I said, it states in it, do this, do that, do that. And then it kind of gets muddy. In fact, I sent out a request to 5 engineering firms 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think I told you this at our last meeting on the Hillside project, Hillside Drive sewer project that we get the money for a grant. Being that that's federal money, it's not a bid, it's a request for qualifications. That I've got the engineering firms that we reached out to, said this is what we're looking to do. Don't care about cost at this point in time, because they said we don't worry about cost, we worry about qualification, which doesn't make sense to me, but, so we're in the process now of gathering that information.
But that's probably not information they're gonna have to gather, it's something they already have, and they just download it.
And all it is, in this particular case, we have X number of employees, we've been to work here and there.
But there's probably a certificate that costs them about $10,000 every 3 years, and, someone comes in and says, oh, you don't have this person's high school education certificate, and therefore you don't get it. We go through that process all the time.
And in this case, I think the ending date was last Thursday. Tina, was that? Yeah, last Thursday. We sent it out to 5 and only 2 responded.
Did you advertise in the newspaper?
No, just sent it out to 5 engineering firms that we've done work with over the years. 3 in Florence, 1 in Charlotte, 1 in Columbia, and then another one in Florence area. And they would give it 30 days to respond on that. But I'll bring you back and get you the information. Accepted bids for employee medical services. What you have, you've got the actual bids that was submitted.
Are these the only bids you submitted?
It's the only one that you sent back to me.
Did you submit anything to Care South?
No. I don't know what Care South is.
Well, Care South is building a brand new facility right now in the county jail.
Where
They're right now in Platt, I believe.
No, I didn't send it to Care South. I sent it to Dillon Family Medicine, Dillon Internal Medicine, Stanton Chiropractic, and the reason I sent Stanton Chiropractic, he does CDLs, and McLeod. And McLeod sent it to the place there, it's located on Highway 327, that clinic over there, that's who responded to this. But as you see on there, there were 6 different categories: pre-hire employment physicals, pre-hire drug screenings, annual fireman physicals, DOT physicals, workers' comp diagnostics, and I'll talk about that one here shortly, and hepatitis B shots. These are the things that we have done in the past that we'll plan to continue to do for prior to hiring someone, or when somebody gets hired, where they have to do based on some of their certifications or whatever job related that they do. On the pre-employment physicals, Dillon Family Medicine submitted $70 for each pre-employment physical. Dillon Internal submitted $45, and McLeod's, their Florence location, submitted $75. Pre-employment drug screen, Dillon Family submitted $30, Dillon Internal $55, McLeod and Florence $72. At this one, whatever y'all decide to do on any of it, the only one that I would recommend that you keep together, it doesn't matter which one you go with, but we'd like for employment physicals, employment drug screen, the pre-employment physicals and pre-drug screen be done in the same place, so they don't have to go to two different locations. And in this case, Dillon Family, if you take those two, is $100. Dillon Internal, if you add those two, it's $100. And McLeod is $147. So, like to break them down for each category. If y'all can vote on each category on who to give to.
How long is the bid process good for? How long?
4 years.
4 years?
4 years. Yeah, based on the letter that's attached to their bid, and it says the bid fee should be based on each service and goods from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021.
That's what everybody submitted for a year?
But that's what it would be based on a year, just as I told them in the letter that they filled out and signed. So,
My question is to Janet. Has Dillon Internal Medicine always charged what they're actually bidding today?
No, I have that information. In 2018-19, Dillon Internal Medicine for pre-employment physicals and drug screen was $90. In 2019 through 2020, same thing, $90. Looking to see. So we down, broken down. Actually, you did it give you that? That would be correct. Yeah, $90 for the past 2 years. 45 each for physicals and 45 each for the pre-employment drug screen.
So $90 total?
Yes, 45 for each one of those things. So how do you want to proceed as far as, you want to go through each one?
No. I'll make a motion that we accept the bids from Dillon Internal Medicine.
I second.
But now, I know you got a motion, you got a second, but, you know, there are still 3 more items that I haven't talked about. Now, you've got all the information in front of you. Annual fire physicals, Dillon family submitted a cost of $235, Dillon internal $200, and McLeod Florence location, as you see, provided $314. In the previous years, in 2018, 2019, Dillon internal did 19 physicals at $200 a piece for the firemen. Dillon Family Medicine did 10 during that same period for $224.50. The year that we just finished up, Dillon internal did 12 at $200, and Dillon Family did 5 at $234. And then the DOT physicals, most of our physicals in the past have been done by Stanton Chiropractic for $75. Dillon Internal Medicine has been charging one or two that they've done for us $90. Workers' comp services, Dillon Family, if you see, said price varies. Dillon Internal put in cost from $138 to $185. McLeod says they didn't give a price, but talking with them, I called them since they did give a price to find out why, to educate me on workers' comp. Workers' comp sets whatever that price is to be paid. So, you know,
It's the same price.
yeah.
It's the building.
But, and we don't pay anything to anybody as far as directly on workers' comp claims. We pay our workers' comp carrier, who is the South Carolina Municipal Insurance Trust Fund, who then deals with any work-related injuries, and then they pay either the injured employee and or the medical services that they provide. And then hepatitis shots, we haven't done any probably in the last 2 or 3 years. Dillon Family Medicine will provide 3 shots at $65 per shot. Dillon Internal, $101.50 per dose, which would be 2, which would then be $200 some odd for the series of 2, and then McLeod does a series of 2 at $122.50 per dose. And if you see down at the bottom of that big tabulation that I gave you, that what we've done in the past, who's done what as far as services, and then the random drug screenings that we do if anybody has an accident, as far as vehicle accident that was their fault, and our CDLs who are required to have random drug screens done. Trinity Behavior does that for us. I don't know what we pay there.
$35.45.
Okay.
So you're considering 101.50 as each dose?
Each dose, that is correct.
And on the first one, 65
Times
per
3.
shot.
Times 3.
Times 3.
Yeah. And then it would be 101.50 times 2, and then 122 times 1.
So it's basically about the same price. $125.
But if I could just state for the record.
Sure.
The reason why you needed to be sealed bids is because Dillon Internal Medicine, which Dr. Wallace is affiliated with, has been able to see these bids. And he could have maybe contacted these council members. I'm not saying he did, but it can happen. So that's why it needs to be sealed bids.
Well, and you may have a good point, but I'm gonna bring something to your attention which I put in this. If you look at Dillon Family Medicine's bid process, if you see where it says annual, I highlighted it, annual fireman physicals, the number they wrote down is $75. You see that?
Yeah.
So I said, something ain't right. Because I know we had paid $234 the last one that we did. So I called and spoke with Casey Hyatt, who submitted this, and asked her, why was it so low compared to what she was doing now? She said, we just not sure what you wanted. So I told her what we wanted. You saw the email on the back. That's when she told me what they would actually do. And I talked to Keith to make sure what was being done. And that's when it went from $70 to $230. And see, if we hadn't seen it come today, you know, we'd have never known. And then when we said, oh, by the way, family medicine, you got this, and they sent us the bill the first time for $230, but no, you said 70. You know, that would then.
But the bid is sent to you, you open the bid,
Yeah.
you scrutinize the bid.
I just put the bid numbers down.
Well, that's the correct way it should be.
I just put the
The
bid
Dillon
numbers down.
Internal Medicine didn't tell you what they actually did for the annual final visit.
Something like that. I mean, but their number was the same as it's been for the last 2 or 3 years.
I'm just saying, they, you
I didn't-
broke down Dillon Family Medicine, but Dillon Internal Medicine didn't break it each down for it.
The only reason it was broken down was their number was so totally out of left field, where Dillon Internals was the same number that it's been. So I knew that they were doing I felt like they were doing what they were.
Yeah, but what caused the red flag to me is Dillon Internal Medicine's been doing it for $90, now they're gonna go to $100.
That's what I'm talking about you firemen.
I understand that,
Okay.
but I'm saying, I'm going back to the original pre-employment and to the drugs. They went up to $100, so that draws a red flag to me, is what I'm saying.
Why does it draw a red flag?
Well, I mean,
I'm trying to get it clear in my mind, because nobody from this council saw these numbers until Friday.
but I'm just saying, I mean, I'm going to go Dillon Internal's way, because other council members have seen this, the person who's affiliated with the
Let me
business.
make sure we all understand, and Jack whispered in my ear to remind me. Since it's a council member by ethics, let me pull that. Since it's a council member, because it is called a conflict of interest, and this is under Section 57130 of the South Carolina Code, actually under Section 52130. Any municipal officer may enter into a contract if he is awarded the contract as low bidder
I understand, Dominic.
after public calls for bids, which that's what this was, and council unanimously votes yes. Everybody has to vote yes. One nay vote, you go to the next thing. So I mean, just again, if there's a better way of doing it, I'm more than happy to do it. But I think that's the only way to do it. You know. So I go back to, I know you got a motion and a second. I still think you need to vote each one separately. But also, by doing that, I would request that you did the pre-employment physicals and the pre-employment drug screen as one, so you don't have two separate locations.
So you want us to vote separate, even though he's the lowest on the physical for fire,
You still got to
and
vote.
he's the only one that's put an amount in for DOT.
You still got to vote.
Okay. On each area.
Yeah, you still got to vote for each one.
But you want the pre-physical and the pre-employment drug screening together.
Should be combined.
So
together.
that's what they just made a motion on.
So you don't go to, I don't send an employee that we're gonna hire to one place and then have to send them somewhere else. They can all do it at one location. That's the only two that I would like to see.
But it has to be unanimous.
Yes, that is correct.
What don't get an unanimous vote on neither one of them?
Pardon?
What don't get an unanimous vote on neither one of them?
You go to the next, whoever had the second lowest.
But he's made a motion, and we got to say it.
Yeah. And will you repeat that motion?
I make the motion to accept Dillon Internal for the pre-employment and the drugs and the physical.
I second.
And now you've got discussions, which we've done some of, but we don't do any more. If no more discussions, all in favor, signal by raising your hand. All right, that didn't pass.
Now, read that law again, because I'm just
The law
reading.
states, any municipal officer may enter into a contract if he is awarded the contract as low bidder after a public call for bids and council unanimously votes on each particular contract. The vote taken by yes and nays is entered to the council minutes.
And it doesn't specify anything on unanimous,
Yeah, either yes or nay.
because you could never make a decision ever
Well,
That's
if
what
someone holds out.
only if there's a municipal conflict with a council. That's the only time this comes into play.
What a council member got a conflict with whoever on his list?
No. Conflict meaning any municipal officer who has a substantial financial interest in any business that contracts with the municipality for sale of land, materials, supplies, equipment, or services, or who personally engage in such matters, shall make known the interest and refrain from voting or otherwise participating in his capacity as a municipal officer in matters related to therein. So, again,
So,
What if I just didn't like McLeod?
that ain't got a thing to do with it. If you voted no on that, the majority would pass that. That doesn't mean one vote kills that,
Okay.
if that makes sense. All right, so you've got a no pass on pre-employment physicals and a no pass on pre-employment drug screen. So now you need to someone needs to make a motion to accept Dillon Family Medicine's bids for pre-employment physicals and pre-employment drug screen. Since they would eventually, they have a low bid as well of $100. And folks, to be honest with you, I got to have somebody for these people to go to. Or we just don't have to we don't have to have.
I just feel like really and truly, I feel like you're alienating.
That might be the best thing we need to do.
I think you're alienating
It's not doing
Dillon internal, and you can lose anything they ever do for you.
I'm not alienating a soul. I'm going by the law.
I know, but I've never heard of that before.
I mean, I say something on the fire department's behalf of the members.
Well, hold on one second. I mean,
But you understand what I'm saying? Because you're gonna stalemate at every turn. Nobody's gonna make a motion. And if they do, it's gonna fail.
Yeah, I understand it. And, you know, again, and Janet and I have talked about this here in the last
Tell you what.
month. We talked about it a year ago. Doc,
I can say something.
No, sir, you
I
can't.
can take my bid back.
Oh, my Lord, here, I knew
I
that.
can take my bid back. Let me just say something, now that I can speak, by taking my bid back, I can speak.
I don't know that you can, Doc.
Don't.
Bids are this. I mean,
I'd recommend you did not.
okay.
I make the motion that then from now on then, that new employees just find their own way of getting everything and don't enter into any bids with anybody.
When you say get new employees.
Well, I mean, with the pre-employment physicals, they just get to choose whoever they go to, and as long as it's within reasonable amount of money, we pay for them. And that way, we don't send them any place, they go to wherever they choose to go to. As long as it's within that,
What he's saying, you set the rate, and they can go wherever they want.
yep.
They can go to internal, they can go
And that way we don't have to
they go
interview.
anywhere they want. Health South or whatever it is, just let them go. As long as it's within your guideline, within your range.
Need a motion?
Wait a second. Let me think through that.
Because pretty much you've been letting them do it with the DOT physicals, because you said that some went to
DOT
standards,
physicals
some went somewhere else, so.
DOT physicals and fire physicals, they've been able to pick and choose. That's correct. The only thing that's for new employees is pre-employment physical. Pre-employment.
People have to have some every year.
Yeah, they've been allowed choices to go to either one of the two
My
families.
guys been going to their family doctor, it's usually Dillon family doing the internal, that's where they've been going.
I think, and this is just Glenn talking about it, and Janet and I talked about it. I think we have to have, and I don't know that we have to have pre-employment physicals. I don't know that we have to have pre-employment drug screening. However, we've had people who have applied and we've sent to the doctor and they found out on their pre-employment physical that they have high blood pressure that they didn't know they had.
You wouldn't want to know if it has surgical history. I've
I
had
mean,
my back
there's-
operated
yeah,
on.
yeah,
my
we
my
want,
neck operated
we
on.
want to know that. And then from a drug screen, I mean, we have sent people to do their pre-employment drug screen and get it back. And there may be some things there that, we don't want to deal with. So, you know,
I mean, we could just say, make a choice between Dillon family, Dillon internal, and that's it. You got,
and cost can't be no more than $100 because that's what the bids
that's
are.
it.
What's your thoughts?
Be the employee's choice.
Now, will the employees, pre-employment be set by them? or-
No, we set it up. We said.
You would just ask, where would you prefer to go?
Some are just saying that,
Just as, I mean, it's kind of out of the blue, but like someone rents a car, they tell them, listen, do you have a tow company you'd recommend? If not, they give them one.
I know,
Well, the
but-
same thing y'all could do with this here. I mean,
you know, I've got to step to the restroom real quick, but here's something you got to think about. Is it still, I think, I could be wrong, if we're paying Dillon internal medicine, you still, I believe, got to follow this. Even
It's
though
got to
they have-
pass unanimously.
Even though they're.
well, let's see if it passes unanimously.
Even though
We've got a
they're
first and a
choosing-
second.
Even though we're giving them the choice, would you not agree or disagree? If we give
Not
them
if you're
the choice-
unanimous, you give them a choice.
We're not actually accepting them to be our sole provider of this now. So therefore, it shouldn't have to be unanimous.
But it still is, he would be having a substantial financial interest.
Okay, well, we just.
I mean,
Honestly,
No, Doc, you're not
it
taking it
is
back.
not gonna hurt me. I'll just tell you, and it cost me $57 for you to sign in that kiosk machine. It cost me at that point $57 of this. This number of $45 for a physical by an internist, you know, that could easily be 4 times that. I'll pull mine. You're not going to get a.
Well, let's just see if we get a unanimous
You
this
can't,
time around.
but
So
what
we'll
he's
find out
saying,
if
if
it's
they're
directly
paying-
against someone, or is it still giving the employees an option?
Well, he's making a motion.
I made a
that
motion that we
between
got a
Dillon
second.
family and Dillon internal, make a choice, and that's it, under
Then saying
100.
you can't.
Well,
No, if
Yes,
it
you
passes
can.
unanimously, it
Yes.
can.
You can.
It still has to.
But I'll see if it's gonna pass
And you
unanimously.
got the motion.
I second.
And what's your motion?
The motion is it can either be Dillon family or Dillon
Either
internal.
one, they can
Make
go
a
to either
decision
one.
On $100.
Say what, Jackson? I didn't hear.
I said they can go to either one, Dillon family or Dillon
He's
internal.
talking about physicals and drug screening, and we have to sign Dillon's in a minute.
So you got a first, you got a second, any discussion? All in favor, show by hand. All right, it passed. And what we'll do there is, as we do, we'll tell them, if you got a choice, you tell us which one you want, Janet will set up the appointment. Our annual fire physicals, pretty much that's what we've done in the past. As Keith mentioned a while ago, those guys that do them annually would like to use their,
I make a motion for
Manual
internal
doctor.
medicine for $200, because they're the lower bid.
I second.
Any discussion?
Well, I think you should still keep it the way it is because some firemen want to go to Dillon Family Medicine.
Well, how they gonna do it for 200?
I mean,
We're gonna have a flexible rate then?
well, I can't, can I yield to the fire chief?
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't mind, can you tell me, Keith, how many you actually take advantage of going through the Dillon Family Medicine versus Dillon Internal Medicine?
I think probably a third of them maybe.
Okay.
Based on,
Like yes, I don't have more, I'd say probably no more than a third.
in 2018-19, because that's when we did our last pool, we didn't finish them this year because of the COVID-19. 10 did Dillon Family Medicine and 19 did Dillon Internal.
Right. So, you know, this is a volunteer service that the firemen give us, and I think they should have the right to choose where they want to go.
All right, you got a motion and a second for annual fire physicals to be accepted by Dillon Internal Medicine. Am I correct? Is that what the motion was? All in favor, signal by raising their hand. You turn that on. All right, that did not pass.